am Sundar from Symphonia Wealth. The recent headlines which have come in the last couple of months has been very disturbing when it comes to financial investment. Some of the headlines read more than 2 lakh depositors have been cheated to a tune of almost about 8,000 crores. Another read more than 6,000 crore has been scammed. These are some of the mega frauds which have happened in Tamil Nadu, especially in the last couple of months. These are not the only ones. There have been many scams which have happened, which are called Ponzi Scheme across India. In fact, it is across the world. So every time an individual wants to make a quick buck, I think that's where people end up looking for options which are very unrealistic in nature, but they eventually get caught. Greed takes over and humans lose their rationality. So this is the fundamental reason behind why all these Ponzi schemes keep coming every now and then. It's not that there was one Ponzi scheme and people got realized. So these schemes keep coming very regularly. So let's understand what a Ponzi scheme is. A Ponzi scheme is a fraudulent scheme which pays its existing investors from a non-existing business from the money collected through new investors, which means there is no business at all, but they end up making payments to their existing investors from the new money which is being collected. So it just runs like a vicious cycle till such time it actually breaks. So how did this name Ponzi came? So there was an Italian businessman in the year 1920 whose name was Charles Ponzi, who was the first to introduce such kind of fraudulent businesses, and he made a lot of money and eventually was caught. So from then on, all fraudulent schemes have been named after him, called Ponzi schemes. So what are the characteristics of a Ponzi scheme? So if you are aware of these things, then naturally you can try and avoid or get yourself protected from these schemes. Generally, these are schemes which are from unregulated entities offering you way higher returns. So generally they might tell you your money will be doubled in 6 months or 1 year, or you might get paid 10% every month and things like that. You all know that for your money to become 10% in a savings account takes 3 years. For your money to become 10% in a FD takes 1.5 years. So how can somebody pay you 10% every month? That's the first trigger for investors to wake up. And generally these schemes are being propagated saying that there is low risk or no risk. Even the bank FDs has some bit of risk. So how come a business can tell you that there is no risk? And generally there are no paperwork or there is no documentation or anything of that sort. And one fine day you get to know that the company does not exist and you have lost your money. But in spite of people knowing that these are fraudulent schemes, there are investors who call themselves as smart investors. They understand that these kind of returns are not possible, but even then their greed tells that you should take a small exposure out of your overall investment. So let me explain this with a small example. Assuming you are an investor who got 10 lakh rupees money with you. If you just put a bank FD, say at about 7%, you get about 70,000 rupees, which means your 10 lakh becomes 10 lakh 70,000. Now the smart investor inside you comes and say that I know that it's a Ponzi scheme where the returns what is shown might not happen, but the other brain asks you, what if it happens? So what you do is you actually split your investments where you put 9 lakhs in a safe FD and just take 1 lakh rupees and invest in this Ponzi scheme. Assuming the Ponzi scheme guarantees you a return of 24%, then assuming the Ponzi scheme goes right for you, which means you are one of the early ones to participate in the Ponzi scheme, then your overall return will be 87,000, which means instead of 7%, you actually end up getting about 8.7%. Though not a very great return, because the risk what you took and the return what you got was meaningless. But let's understand what if that 1 lakh rupees fails or the scheme fails, which means you actually lose the entire 1 lakh rupees. Here there is no question of you losing your interest, it is always losing your principal. So assuming you lose your entire 1 lakh rupees, which means your end returns will be only 9,63,000 rupees, which means you would have actually lost 1,07,000 rupees. So that's the price what you pay for your greed. Even though investors understand that these kind of returns are not possible, but people think that if I just invest a small portion of the money, it will not impact you. But the reality is even a small amount of money which is lost can actually impact your overall returns. So don't get swayed in by all these Ponzi schemes. As Warren Buffett says, There are only two rules to make money. Rule number one is never lose your capital, and rule number two is don't forget the rule number one. So always invest in regulated schemes and don't get carried away by these high return schemes or the Ponzi schemes. Hope you enjoyed this video. Thank you for watching.